There is one thing above everything else that comes between you and your most ambitious goals: your habits. Your habits form either an insurmountable wall or a conveyor belt between you and your goals. In other words, your habits either work for your goals or against them. I bet I don't need to sell on you the importance of your habits on everything you want to achieve. You already know that. So instead, in this video, my goal is to provide you as crystallized and easy to digest illustration for effective habit formation, with examples and hacks on how to succeed with forming your habits at once. Let's start with why, because understanding it is always the best starting point for lasting change. For starters, here is how your current habits look like from the neuroscience perspective. And here's how the new habits that you are looking to develop look like through the same lens. See the difference? The key note here is that your current habits are like highways in the jungle of neural connections. The electricity in your brain flows the most effortlessly by the path of least resistance, the strongest neural connections that have been built. The majority of these neural highways are most likely being built in the background of your life with no requirement of effort or even your consciousness. Your brain aims to conserve precious energy wherever possible. That's the purpose of these neural highways. That's why most of the habits, especially the bad ones, seems like they have somehow just appeared in your life unnoticeably. Here also lies the reason why learning new habits as well as unlearning old ones is most often so painstakingly hard not to crack. Trying to learn new habits feels so unpleasant because it quite literally feels like having to blaze a new trail into the dense wilderness from scratch to get somewhere, when a fully functioning highway already exists right there next to this new, yet to be carved pathway. That old highway have also been your go-to highway to solve a specific problem so far, like the lack of feeling confidence without a cigarette, or easing the anxiousness by biting your fingernails. So not using it when you feel like needing it feels to your brain like your survival is threatened. Okay, so what can we do about this challenge? The answer is new neural circuits. Synapses are the places where neurons connect and communicate with each other. New set of synapses create new neural circuits. And you have two options when it comes to creating new synapses. 1. Strong emotions creates the synapses immediately. 2. Repetition in certain action creates synapses gradually. Now, strong emotions are not under your control. I mean, you have some power over your emotions for sure, but not to that extent that you could reliably and intentionally fast-track the creation of new desired neural pathways by exploiting them. If you had, you wouldn't carry your traumas and addictions around, would you? So, what does it leave to us? That's right, repetition, i.e. forming new habits, the traditional way. Before we get to the nitty-gritty of habit formation, I'd like to point out that there's actually a bonus method to creating new synapses, and that is kinda mixing the initial two in a sense. That can be done through visualization and meditation. These specific habits are delimited from the core topic of this video, but if those subjects interest you and you found this video of any value thus far, subscribing to this channel would be a win for both of us. Thanks. About forming new habits, understanding the massive role of your identity first is a great starting point. That's because your new habits are extremely unlikely to stick if your motives are mainly external rather than internal. Or in the other words, if the goal of your new habits is tied to something that you externally want instead of to who you have to become. I have a video dedicated to identity shifting for you to watch next if you already haven't. Link to that video in the description. Now it's time for the juicy stuff. For nailing down the formation of new habits, this is the core concept you need to consider. The habit loop. It goes like this. Cue, craving, response, reward. Cue means the interpretation of a potential reward. Cues can be internal or external. Craving means the motivation to action sparked by a cue. You don't usually crave the habit itself, but the habit is the learned vehicle to the outcome of that habitual action. Response is simply the action you take, whether it's a habit or a completely new approach. And reward is the perceived outcome, usually some form of satisfaction and/or lesson. Every habit you have, as well as all the habits you want to have, must go through this habit loop many times. By lots and lots of repetition, new neural pathways start to form in your brain. And the more you repeat the habit loop, the stronger the new neural pathways are growing. In addition, your old neural pathways start to dissipate more and more the longer you don't use it anymore, even though it may be impossible to ever get completely overgrown. The effectiveness lies more on the frequency of repetitions rather than the total time carrying the habit, or how much you actually use your new machete to pave the new pathway instead of just carrying it. Now, here is the machete for you to start really hacking the new wanted habit highway into your brain. Hack the cues, make the new habit obvious. Hack the cravings, make the new habit attractive. Hack the responses, make the new habit easy. Hack the rewards, make the new habit satisfying. For eliminating the old unsupportive habits, use the inversion of these hacks. By the way, can you see now how many bad habits seem to just appear in our lives? They tend to be obvious, attractive, easy and satisfying by default, without you having to hack them in any way whatsoever. Now it's time to learn to use the machete effectively. Meet John. He has the goal to start exercising more because he has found out that this habit would have a big positive impact in many aspects in his life. So he starts off with identifying what negative cues he currently has in his environment and what positive cues he can add to make the exercising habit as obvious as possible, as well as all the competing habits as unnoticeable as possible. He writes everything down on a piece of paper to make the planning easier. He ends up taking all his exercise equipment, a duffel bag, water bottle, gym shoes, etc. from various difficult places all over his apartment and placing them all in a visible and easily accessible shelf in his lobby. He realizes that the best time for him to go to the gym is at mornings, right after he has taken his kid to the daycare, because his working time is weighted heavily on the afternoon time. He also realizes that it's a lot easier to go straight to the gym from the daycare when he's already on the move, so that he do not even have to rely on willpower to overcome the temptation of competing activities, such as watching TV. So he writes down on a sheet of paper, on every weekday, right after taking my kid to the daycare, I will work at the gym for 2 minutes. He decides to hang that piece of paper on the wall above his computer desk as a daily reminder of his goal for now. He even takes a photo of it and sets it as the wallpaper of his phone. He tells his friendly neighbor that if she catches him from not working out by one way or another every weekday immediately after taking his kid to the daycare in the following 3 months, she gets to delegate him a chore of her choice that involves some physical exercise, like doing the groceries without a car or mowing her lawn, for example. He even asks her to sign a formal contract to that agreement. He finds out that there are many sufficient options for gyms to join for him. One is located right on the path from the daycare to his home. The others, some even slightly better equipped, are all located more or less behind a detour. John chooses the one with the effortless location to make this new habit as easy as possible. 1 hour long full workout at the gym feels daunting to John, so he decides that when he goes there for the first time, he commits to only changing his exercise clothes at the locker room, nothing more. That is counted as a working out for 2 minutes in day 1. It turns out that leaving after only changing his clothes feels so stupid to John when he's at the gym that he ended up jogging on the treadmill for 10 minutes on top of that. He knows very well that 10-minute daily treadmill jog will not shape him to the condition he wants. But that's not what he focuses on. He focuses on the good feeling that he got from the undeniable accomplishment today. Because he knows that the correctly built habit is what really matters in the long run, not the optimal performance all the time. Immediately after the gym session, he ticks the box from his new habit tracker app in his phone to get instant rush of dopamine from the feeling of achievement, and that evidence of progress starts to carve new neural connections in his brain. Soon the icon of the habit tracker app triggers the association to that successful gym workout. That icon becomes a new positive cue to this exercise habit. Before, John thought that exercising would be a burden for him. Now he is thrilled that he gets to tick another box tomorrow. On the way home, John buys a package of a special blend coffee that he really likes but doesn't buy on a regular basis due to its price. From now on, this delicious special coffee is his immediate reward, permitted only for every time he ticks another box. Now let's rewind and take a little closer look at the hacks John applied to build his new exercising habit. First, he consciously gathered awareness of his environment and made decisions about redesigning it. He added cues that make the new habit more obvious and eliminated cues that would have easily distracted him. Instead of relying solely on his memory and willpower, he used a method called implementation intention to cut all the guessing and wondering from when and where the new habit takes place. And he combined it with the 2-minute rule that is meant for crushing the procrastination caused by the overwhelmed feeling. He identified the best time and location for his new habit to become as easy as possible. He sprinkled multiple supporting cues all over the place to keep the new habit at the top of his mind. He utilized his neighbor as an accountability partner and mixed it with a habit contract. His commitment of just changing the clothes at the locker room was nowhere near too overwhelming for him to procrastinate on. Thus, it was easy to fulfill. And he consciously shifted his focus on accomplishment, and he let himself to enjoy that feeling. He reframed his perspective on this new habit from have to get to. He started to reward the desired behavior, but not with something that could become a new bad habit to overcome later. He started using a habit tracker because that is a simple way to illustrate the evidence of progress. And feeling of progress is probably the best motivator for another round of the habit loop. I couldn't quite stuff every single tip and trick to this one example. There are even more hacks as well as more in-depth comprehensive understanding to be gained to the principles I did my best to capsulize in this video. For that, you simply cannot skip this absolutely S-tier book. And this is a very good complimentary read on the subject as well. Links in the description. Now you have a solid idea how you can nail down your new habits effectively. As I briefly mentioned earlier, it is an integral part of even slightly larger picture, identity shifting, watch this video next to nail down that as well. Thanks for watching.